Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Conscious Business Coffee Break, where we take a few moments to explore what's happening in the conscious business movement, expand awareness, and encourage your efforts in conscious business. My name is Stephen Donaco of the Conscious Business Enterprise, a division of Humanities team. So, in this morning's episode, it's been inspired by an article called "What's the Point If We Can't Have Fun?" by David Graeber. And in particular, what moved me in the article was a discussion of evolution. And we're all familiar with Charles Darwin and the popular survival of the fittest notion. And it's not only been the view in evolutionary biology, survival of the fittest, but this has also been a cultural idea that has worked its way through different realms of culture and even business. So in business, it's been very much about competition and survival of the fittest in the corporate and commercial worlds. So one of our faculty members in the Conscious Business Enterprise, Elizabeth Sahtouris, has brought up this idea that it's not just competition that's important, but as we mature in business, as organizations mature, companies mature, and as the realm of commerce matures, really it's equally important for us to understand and to practice cooperation. And in the article that I'm referencing in the description of today's video, there's mention of a naturalist who was one of Charles Darwin's contemporaries. His name was Peter Kropotkin, and he talked about this very interesting and real and practical idea that it was cooperation ultimately that ensured survival of a species. And Elizabeth Sahtouris talks about this too, that certainly in the beginning, the qualities of competition are important because they build strength and resilience and stamina. But then as an organism matures, and as let's say even a business matures, and as a company matures, as families mature, I mean, we could apply this to so many different realms, right? That it's becomes increasingly important to build a virtue and a practice of cooperation, because it takes much more energy to compete than it does to cooperate. So competition can help us to build skills. It helps us to build resilience, as I mentioned. And then once we become established, and I'm going to talk purely now from a business perspective, once we become established and we have developed or we've nurtured a reputation for what we do, and we're respected in our field, and we're well regarded, we are unnecessarily expending energy continuing to just compete. And it's not that it's not important to continue to have those skills and to practice them, but as time goes on, it becomes even more important to cooperate. And cooperation can show up in various ways, right? So I'll share an experience I had in a company, large bank, where the different banking teams, the different teams of bankers were in essence in competition with one another for business. And I was a support person on one of these teams, and there was somebody from another team that was asking, and very authentically asking for help with something. And if I were to just embrace only the virtue of competition, I would have just rebuffed that request. Instead, I decided to take a higher view and said, well, we're all working for the same company ultimately. So really, we're just one big team, even though we're separate units. But I chose not to look at it as we're separate teams competing with one another. It just didn't make sense to me. So if we're one big team, ultimately, why wouldn't I help what others might have regarded as the competition internally? So I thought this idea of pitting salespeople against one another within a company isn't, I kind of get the point, but also it doesn't make a lot of sense ultimately for the benefit of the organization and for the benefit of everyone in the organization to flourish. So if we then switch to an attitude of cooperation in that sense, how much more powerful is it to flourish together? And this article that I referenced, talks about cooperation as being something that brings us pleasure, even brings animals pleasure, right? So just the very act of cooperation, of acting on behalf of one another and for one another, is a pleasureful activity. And if you look at this even more deeply in terms of the meaning of life, would you rather be competing until you're on your deathbed and expending all of that energy and ultimately all of those what I believe would occur as afflictive emotions, like anger and maybe resentment, everything that's not joyful and not pleasureful. But as we mature in life, as we mature in business, spending more time cooperating, mentoring, helping, providing counsel, that brings more meaning to life and therefore more pleasure. So, it's interesting in the article, and I would invite you to read it when you have an opportunity, that it's like the purpose of life is sort of to have fun. And we can have fun in all aspects of life, including business. And when we're doing that, isn't it really a powerful thing? Aren't we healthier physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for having had more fun in life? So I just leave those ideas with something for you to think about, because as we are evolving in this human realm, as humanity evolves, our thinking, our feeling, our awareness is evolving as well, and therefore our business is evolving. And if we can regard all of these realms of life as opportunities for enjoyment, and that enjoyment leading to our mutual flourishing, like, why not? Why would we not do that? So thank you so much for being a part of the program today. Grateful for those who tuned in, and take a look at our resources in the description of the video, the Conscious Business Declaration, as well as the Conscious Business Enterprise training programs. And as always, my thanks to Fluid Coffee Bar for being our coffee break place today. Cheers, and have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.